Hello and welcome back to another podcast. My name is Alfred and welcome to my Godcast. I hope you guys have been taking care of yourself physically, mentally, spiritually, aka taking care of your essence. Without any further ado, I'd like to introduce today's topic, and it's basically on masculinity and its importance and why all men should cultivate this masculine trait. A reason that I that I should start with to really tell you why you should be cultivating this power, this trait, your masculinity. It's because in the era that we live in, masculinity or a masculine trait or a masculine man is seen as a threat. He's seen as someone who's toxic. We can see or hear the jargons that are thrown at a masculine man. Toxic is being one of them. You're labeled as toxic, you're labeled as aggressive, as if that is something that is not good. But part of being a man is being aggressive, is being upfront, it's being straight, it's being principled. And in actual fact, people who are against masculinity, innately or intuitively, they are against the things that I've mentioned, the principles, the morals, the goals, your essence as a man, your morals. That's what people are usually against, especially effeminated men or female who themselves wish they had these masculine traits. So in reality, it's not that they dislike a masculine man. In fact, no society can be built or can thrive without masculinity. No society or any sort of community cannot, and I repeat, will not ever develop without a masculine or masculine man to lead the way. It will be you'll be far-fetched to find a society that can advance without men who show their masculine traits, the leadership, the principles, the morals, the aggression that can take that society or the community from one place to another in a manner of development. Now, we now live in an era where being effeminated, being less masculine, and having more, for a man, having more feminine traits than having more masculine is regarded as good. Now, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with a woman being feminine. In fact, a woman has to be in her feminine state most of the time. And there's nothing wrong with a man being feminine, but that trait should not be the dominant trait. And when I say a man being feminine, I'm not talking about wearing dresses, speaking or talking like a woman. I'm just speaking in terms of relating or trying to relate at times with others in an empathetic way, or at least in an emotional way, because as men we hardly show our emotions, and emotions are basically the traits of the feminine, and that's how it's been. So showing all your feminine in that manner, or just your vulnerability, is something that can be done or can be accepted. But as a man, no one should try and shame you or make you shun your masculinity. Like I said, your masculinity will take you to your mission, to your godhood, to the God version of you, because once you are grounded in principles, on sound principles, your moral compass is intact. What your word is your bond, those sort of masculine traits that makes a man principled and really grounded. Once those are adopted into a man, then that man surely is going to be a leader of others. Now, the problem lies in those who are against such. They do not want such a man to act upon those principles, because it usually shows how disciplined and how that he is focused on things that matter, things that are grounded in solid stuff, and has no time for things that really do not capture or that do not really bring value to his mission in life. So a masculine man is actually the man that is needed in society. Unfortunately, as we live in the era whereby such things are shunned upon, once you show that you are principled, they want to effeminate you so that they can strip away that power. This is usually a test, and as men, as we go through our godhood and we're going through our to our God version, we should take this as a test, and what we can do is really not subject ourselves to throwing away our principles, but rather we should show and ground ourselves in these or on these principles. If you stand by your principles, you stand by your morals, then the respect will be there. At first, they will not understand, because masculinity for this generation really is a foreign thing to them. I must say myself, I never really understood masculinity until I really got into what I'm supposed to do, really got into the mission, or my vision was now focused, and I realized without really cultivating those masculine traits, then I cannot go further than where I am. Masculinity, because itself is a power, it is a force. It can only be mitigated by its opposite. Maybe it's usually the feminine, right? A true masculine man can always recognize a true feminine woman, and has always to be a balance between the two. Now, in the era that we live in, the generation that I'm growing up in, the balance has been tilted, and since men, and as my generation is coming to its age, a lot of us as boys were not allowed to really express that masculine energy, that masculinity of being aggressive, of being much more outgoing, because they wanted, or we were supposed to be what you can call good boys, just be people who are passive, men who are passive. And on the other hand, the women or the girls were allowed to be much more expressive, And so the balance was tilted more towards into the opposite side. Now you find that you have more effeminated or more feminine men and more masculine or more women or girls with muscular trait. Thus, the balance is really tilted in the wrong way. But there's always a place or a time that a balance has to come, because now as we see what is happening or the social dynamics, especially in relationships, because men are not allowed to express their masculinity. Thus, relationships between men and men, right? And I'm just talking about regular relationships, as in friendships. They really are not, they're not as strong as they used to be. And so it's the same as relationship with men and women. They really do not go anywhere beyond sexual intercourse and such things. The balance really isn't there, because the woman will not show her feminine side and will not be allowed to be dominated. The man want to be able to express his domination over a woman, because first, he does not know how to dominate a woman, and at times this might be true. The man who has not been taught how to express that masculinity in a manner that is supposed to be, he may be over aggressive or probably really passive, and then so the woman expecting the man to be much more aggressive, to be much more temporarily aggressive and bring that masculine energy, but instead there is no energy to be expressed, because the man has not been taught how to express it in a much more healthy way. And thus the balance, there is none, unless the man decides to do or not to go with the societal narrative of today, of being emotional, of being vulnerable. These are not traits of a man. Showing your emotion all the time, crying, or really putting women in a pedestal. No, this is not what masculinity is about. Masculinity, in a nutshell, it is principles, always been there, through leaderships, through our leaders. We've seen a lot of these masculine traits, and so we have now less and less leaders who are willing to really be brave enough to speak out this throughout against these norms that are really constraining the masculine traits of most boys and most men. This then, like I said, really does not move a society forward. A society that is being built by making women much more of in a leading position, making women express a masculine trait rather than express her feminine ways or her feminine essence, will create disorder, because masculinity is the one thing that brings order throughout history. There'll always be chaos, yes, as much as masculinity does bring chaos. Yes, it does. I will agree on that, because of egos clashing and the need to conquer, which will usually result to casualties. But the very same masculine energy or that aggression will, or is the only antidote to this, is the only thing that will bring calmness and tranquility into a society, whatever society is. Yes, they may have a backbone, being the feminine, but the feminine energy can only be in the rather on the background. It can only be a supporting actor on this sort of activity, and it cannot be in the forefront of bringing the tranquility and bringing order into this world. A real masculine or a real masculine man usually prefers order, and this is very true in a lot of aspects, because masculinity is a power that comes with responsibility, and with great power comes great responsibility, as that saying goes. But if egos are threatened, if egos are thrown haywire, then most of the time there will be chaos. It's very true. But as a power, masculinity should be cultivated, and man should be made to act upon the masculinity and not hinder that masculine trait, because as men we usually on the journey to the best version of ourselves, which is the God version, the Godself. As a man, if you're serious about things like leadership, leading a society, or even leading your family, your children, or simply a community, without these masculine traits, without masculinity, then that would be a very, very futile thing, because you will be tested. Things will be, go against you, and the power that can lead you, that masculine power, will bring out that essence that says that you are someone who stands their ground. You are someone who is grounded on principles and morals, but you are willing to listen, you're willing to compromise where will be a win-win situation. And this is a way of real true leadership. You have those masculine traits, but are willing to listen, you're willing to have a mutual agreement with other parties that disagree with the way you think things should be done, but you listen and have listen to their version of what you think they bring to the table. They should also listen to your version, and so at the end there's a win-win situation, and there's a compromise. But the compromise should not go overboard, whereby people expect you to now strip you of what you think should not be taken away from you. And that's where the masculine part plays its part, because a lot of the times as we face other people, more likely than not, usually they want more than you can give, as the saying goes, where you give someone an arm, they want the whole hand. And so if you're not willing, or you're not willing to stand on your masculine energy, your masculinity, you will find you have no arm, no hand as part of your body, because people will want all of that. But as a powerful masculine man who is on their journeys, they should be serious about cultivating this, be principled, have a moral compass that is sound, and really think about not stripping their masculinity and swapping it for much more feminine energy, and feminine essence should be left feminine. But as leaders, as people on their journey to the God version of themselves, to the version of Godself, masculinity is a must, and no one else should tell you otherwise, because without masculinity, there will never be any advancement. Without advice from the masculine, without input and power of the masculine man, then really surely society will stagnate and will go no further than where it is. That's all for today, and I should thank you for listening, and till next time, I hope you stay well